Hey everyone, good afternoon. Can anyone confirm if you can hear me?
Hi Abhishek, yeah, we can hear you. Your
Yes,
voice is
we
quite
can.
audible. Yeah,
Good, thank you. Let me know when you want to start. I'll
yeah, yeah.
just.
All the people haven't joined yet. We can start in 10-15 minutes.
Okay. Cool. Uh, just to vibe check on the room, are most people in their final years, or do you also have people early in their college days as well?
We mostly have people from mostly first year and second year. Mostly,
Oh,
they're in the beginning of their degree program.
good. Let's give folks maybe till 12:10 to join. And after that, we'll get started. Since this is being recorded, uh, maybe we can start early just in case anyone has questions towards the end. So let's give folks just one more minute and 12:05 we'll start. And you guys will be great if during the talk, if you want to keep your videos on, just so I can get some visual feedback on uh, if things make sense to you or if you have any questions and stuff. Okay, it's 12:05. Let me share my screen. I have a little deck prepared for you, and we'll just go through it. Okay, can someone confirm if they can see a terminal screen?
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah.
Okay,
We-
good. Uh,
So,
yeah, I
uh,
can get started. Or if you want to do any introduction or anything, feel free to do that as well.
uh, can we just wait for 2-3 minutes? I think only 12 people have joined. I think more people will be joining soon.
Okay, what's
Just
the
two,
what
three.
number are we expecting?
We are expecting around 30.
Okay,
So just 2-3 more minutes.
okay, makes sense. I'll just keep this up. About keep it get it needed.
I think we can start now. It's already 2:07. So I'll start with the introduction. So, hey everyone. Many of you requested a session that you wanted regarding open source. Many of you were focusing on GSOC and other. So we have Abhishek Keshri here, who is currently a tech lead at Incubyte, and he has quite a bit of experience in open source with developer tooling. So today we have him with us to guide us on what exactly open source is and uh, how to start contributing in open source. So yeah, I think Abhishek, you can take the stage.
Awesome. Thank you, first of all, for having me here. Uh, I usually do talks at different conferences. This one was initially pitched for India FOSS 2025, and I guess from there I got the invite that we have some interest here to learn more about open source. And just a quick clarification, I will not be doing basics of getting started with open source. What I will be sharing is my learnings, my takeaways from my journey so far with open source software. Of course, you can find very easily like how to get started with open source. It's not really that piece of information is not really a barrier. But what I want to share today is just some of my takeaways from my career so far. And speaking of that, uh, this is a quick intro for me. So I am a tech lead currently and a developer advocate at a software services based company called Incubyte. You can check out our website. We do a bunch of interesting things there. Um, I've been solving problems for about half a decade professionally, and I'm a big command line and open source software lover. Right? I love working with open source and I love working on things from my terminal. Even the deck that you're seeing is just a plain markdown file being rendered on the terminal. Couple of other things, I have authored a couple of fairly popular CLI tools, some plugins for different other tools, and have also authored some custom workflows. And I've given some talks uh, within India and internationally as well for developer tooling. Um, the agenda for this call is fairly straightforward. I'll quickly talk about what's my story been like so far, specifically in open source, how I got started, and if that gives you guys any hints on how you can get started as well, I'll be very happy to hear about it. Other things that uh, helped me starting off, the things that I learned and why you should consider contributing to open source, and some very basic tips on what you can do and what you should not do when working with open source. Um, I would love to answer if there's any questions. For now, I'll suggest maybe putting them in the chat. Towards the end, we'll definitely have some time, so we'll go deeper into questions or if you have any thoughts. And again, prefacing all of this with the fact that these are all just my opinions, things that I have learned. You may not agree, right? Other people also might have said different things. So yeah, take these with a grain of salt, put your own thought into this, and then implement. Okay. So this is what's my open source related journey been like so far. Uh, it's fairly straightforward. I never actually actively sought out contribution to open source. It wasn't really a thing for me. How it started for me was basically I started uh, with Linux, of course, when I was younger, but earlier I did not understand Linux well. Eventually, as I got into college, I started writing some tiny shell scripts. Then I got into Vim, then I got into Tmux, ZSH, then I got into Rising as you do. And then I finally ended up publishing my dotfiles. It's been almost 8 years since that time, and that repo has more than 1,000 codes. So it's been a while, but that was the first thing that I actually published on open source. Without really the intention of sharing it with anyone else, the intention was just to make it easy for myself to migrate between devices and machines. If you're not familiar with dot files, by the way, it's just a very basic way of maintaining your configurations on Git so that when you're moving systems, it's quicker to do. After that, I mostly built tools to make my own learning and dev life easier. Uh, I again, all of it is around developer tooling, and I'll talk about why that is in a bit. Uh, Accidentally, as I said, I never intended to get to open source, but it did happen, and then people noticed, people used the tools, and then a bunch of contributions were made as well, both to my repos and to my professional career. So some of the contributions and what basically triggered them, uh, they were very, very basic things. So some examples I have here. Uh, I wrote a bunch of plugins for NeoVim, which were nothing but fairly straightforward Lua files. I just put them in a directory, structured them a certain way, added some logic, and just that got me a invite to speak at a conference in Tokyo last year. Right, very small contribution, just some things that I wanted, but it had a big ripple effect. Then I had published a bunch of deep dive invites related to how the Linux shell and its pipes work, and that blog till this date gets hundreds of weekly views. I sometimes put stuff up on YouTube just for documentation. One of those poorly edited videos went up and it got me into a podcast, some meetings, uh, and some interesting challenges to solve with a very nice group of people. So again, nothing groundbreaking, just very small things. But the only thing common between them was that they indeed deliver value, right? So one thing that we sometimes have issues with is that we don't end up publishing or sharing things unless we feel that it is absolutely perfect. I would say try to shift that mental model a bit. Think about delivering value, whether it's just you or your users or whoever, right? Think of consistent value delivery, even if it's small, but prioritize that over making things perfect. Why I personally work with developer tools and why most of my open source work is around dev tools is because I'm selfish. A lot of people would say that, hey, I did open source work to, for charity or for some greater good. It was nothing like that for me. I basically wanted things that did not exist, so I wrote them myself. Um, and then I wanted to make tools that I will use every day. So that led me to building my tools, and eventually those ended up on GitHub and other places. But open source was never really my intention. Uh, Here I'm talking about dev tooling. For you, it can be different things. You might be passionate about web framework. You might be passionate about AI, let's say. A lot of that is going out right now. You might be passionate about Web3, whatever, right? For me, I am passionate about developer tooling and the CLI. That's why I chose this because it directly contributes to my work. Uh, the only takeaway here, I would say, is do not try and follow the path that someone has already taken. Right? I would say think about your own journey, think about your own wants, choose what you want to make, choose what you want to build, and then get into it. Right? Do not follow like "Hey, everyone is doing AI, so I'll also do it." I'd say just try different things, see what clicks, and then get into publishing and contributing. So here's what a typical flow looks like for me, right? How I end up publishing things. And just a quick glance. So this here is my GitHub, right? As you can see, I've published a bunch of things, like 260 repos, but not all of them are useful. Not all of them are even good quality, but all of them which are, you can find some here. I'll post a link at the end of the talk where you can open up my GitHub if you want to take a look. But all of these things that I've added here basically started with solving my own problem, right? Or as they say, scratch your own itch. So I had an idea, like let's say, uh, I don't really like any of the note-taking tools that are available out there. I want something that works from the terminal and that connects with my new Vim and that connects with my teamworks and gives me a really nice workflow, right? So let's say that was the idea. After you get the idea, the first thing that I've seen people often fumble with is how to build it. Like they'll worry about tech stack, they'll worry about what I don't know what way to build it, they'll worry about where to publish it before actually verifying that their idea actually works and they if they can even use something like this or if it can even be a reality. That's where I suggest after you get an idea, just do a dirty prototype. Very simple. It has to be the thing that you can make the quickest that solves the problem at hand. Right? It could be a very simple JS library, it could be a very simple shell script or whatever you are trying to build. Start there. Get an MVP, get a prototype built. It's okay if it is ugly right now. Because once you have the prototype ready, once you know that hey, this works, I can build this. After that, the next step is polishing. Right? Take that dirty prototype. If needed, delete parts of it. If needed, add to it, but refine it, test it, refactor it. After that, always make sure that you're writing docs. A very common problem with open source software is that it's missing documentation, and documentation might sound very boring. It sounded very boring to me back in the day as well when I did not understand the value. Uh, but a very real example why I say add documentation, right? I just showed you my GitHub. I have like 250 plus repositories over there. So now let's say if someone opens up an issue in a repository that I have not looked at in 1 year, or let's say 2 years even, what happens then, right? If I don't have documentation. The only reason you add documentation is to make sure future you can understand what was the reasoning behind this project, what are the warnings, how things work on that point. So a good README, even just something as basic as that, is mandatory, I would say. If you are contributing to someone else's project or creating your own, please make sure that you are adding documentation. After you have published it, it's very straightforward. Uh, it goes into maintenance basically, unless you want to add more features. And when I say maintenance, it's mostly if other people start using your project, they'll open up issues, maybe they'll open up PRs. One thing I'll suggest is deal with them gracefully. Um, Sometimes people might make, I don't know, irrelevant requests or requests that are not really aligned with your project, or you don't even have the bandwidth to implement as a maintainer. Uh, Dealing with those situations gracefully is a very, very tricky and a very, very crucial thing when working with open source software. And then finally, let's say you have gone over the maintenance window, then you can also see a nice little community built around your tools or built around your contributions to open source. You'll meet people, you learn from them, and eventually your projects will evolve alongside your community. So, a couple of things that I learned from FOSS. Uh, I started contributing to open source software before I actually became a full-time dev. So it was during my second year as well. Um, Before that time, I had only written code for like random college projects or some silly things that I wanted to try. Right? But what open source taught me was that how real software is built. Because when you are publishing something, naturally, a lot of other people will then be looking at your code, right? So you will want to make sure that hey, what I'm putting out is at least a decent quality. Or let's say someone looks at your code, maybe they have some uh, enhancements, or maybe they have some improvements that you can make. They, let's say, open up a issue, or let's say they open up a PR, and you get to learn from them. So that happened for me as well. Uh, During my initial days, I picked up a bunch of things from very basic, let's say, Git usage to very advanced, let's say, how to do something like, I don't know, cache invalidation, for example. Uh, some other things that I learned while building and publishing things that people were using was making keeping things backwards compatible. You never really care about it when you are building something new, or you're building something that is just a throwaway project. But if you are building something that will be used by a lot of people, and let's say that have been that is continuously being used by a group of people, when you push out something new, you want to make sure that people who are already using your work are not disrupted. So there I learned about backwards compatibility. I learned about how to deal with third-party integrations and dependencies. I learned what documentation strategies work, what do not. And then I also learned about releases and rollout plans. This was on the technical front. On the non-technical front, uh, it basically helped me boost my creativity. It helped me better collaborate with people. It also helped me build out a network of really talented and really smart people who have helped me out throughout my career so far. Um, so yeah, those were a couple of takeaways for me personally. On the other flip side of things, when we don't think of open source just as code, right? When we think about open source as a whole, there are actually a lot of things that come into open source. So it's not just software. when we say open source, we usually just assume that it's always about software, but software is just a part of it. Every piece of software project actually has maintainers, it has users, it has upstream dependencies which have their own users, own maintainers. It also has downstream dependencies and their corresponding people, right? So when you think of open source software, it's the code, it is the people, and it's the consistent work that everyone is putting in that is making FOSS work. So that human element of open source software is something that we really need to understand. Often you would see that, there are news, you might read news that hey, this particular library is no longer maintained, or this particular framework is no longer maintained, or this is being shut down or something. Right? If that is happening in the open source ecosystem, right, that basically means that we have neglected the human side of open source because the only reason that the person stopped maintaining something is because they either it was not sustainable, it was not meeting their needs, or very simply they did not have bandwidth to do it. Uh, so thinking about those things, it might not be as relevant in the beginning, but knowing about these things from the beginning can help you when you eventually land in that area. Um, You'll also find really good people working with in open source. So if you are contributing to a major project that's already established, uh, you'll, let's say if you open up a PR, you'll get a lot of good feedback, you'll get a lot of useful information that will help you learn things, right? And if you are, let's say, consistent with it, those people can eventually become your mentors and collaborators. Um, it open source is also a way of self-expression because if you are working at a conventional organization, there are certain needs, there are certain requirements that the org wants you to follow, right? They are there to make money. They're not there to, just please you or let you do what you want. So there you will work with certain constraints. You will have to deliver what is expected from you, right? But with open source, it's totally up to you. You can do whatever you want. And as software developers, that's one of the magic powers we have. Right? We can, if we can imagine something, we can literally go in and build it up. So think of open source software in that aspect as well. It does not always have to be about contributing to something well built and pre-existing. It can be also about what you want to build, what you feel like building. Very simple. You don't even have to make it a serious thing, right? You have to have fun when you are working with open source because most of the open source work out there is from people's passion. It's very rarely profession. Most open source work is driven by passion. And again, whatever you do in open source, because of the nature of it, it's out there in the public, right? So eventually that becomes your portfolio. It is what maintains your reputation, and it is also your playground where you can do whatever you want. The reason I mentioned all of this, right, the human side, is because uh, we sometimes lose track, or maybe we sometimes mix up open source with, let's say, employment, or open source with uh, I don't know, other forms of gains, but it's not really that. At its core, open source is passion, it's community, it's having fun. Okay. Uh, why you should consider working with open source and contributing to it, right? Just based on my experience, I followed a very similar track. Uh, I started with open source early in my college days, as I mentioned, and up till date, almost all of the career opportunities I've gotten have been because of my GitHub profile. Simply like just having a good GitHub profile with good projects that automatically sets you apart uh, from everyone else, right? Uh, Something here about good projects is that again, you don't want to be building, let's say, a clone, or you don't want to be building, let's say, another snake game or to-do list and stuff, right? What will really set you apart is your own things that you're building. It has to be unique. It has to be adding value to your work or to, let's say, a smaller group of people, at least, right? That's what you would want to showcase on your GitHub. That's what you'd want to put on your GitHub. Uh, so think about it as a almost like an online resume, a technical resume. People will just open your GitHub, let's say, and they'll see, okay, this person has done work with Shell, or maybe this person has done work with Lua. Maybe they'll check out some of your contributions, some of your repos, and they'll say, okay, maybe this guy knows what they are doing, or this girl knows what she's doing, and they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, uh, we noticed your profile, this, uh, are you open for interview? Uh, has happened with me a lot of times. Even though even when I'm not looking out for roles, I have constantly received emails and calls just from recruiters based on my GitHub. Right? So, a very big reason uh, you want to secure employment, kind of in a different track. Open source can be the solution. Um, just building on top of it, it helps you build your credibility out in public. This one is an interesting one, making global impact, right, from your desk, from your laptop, from wherever you are. So, um, with open source software, there's technically like no boundaries. You can go if you have the merit, you can go in and open up a pull request in I don't know Node.js, or you can open up a pull request in React or Ruby on Rails, wherever you want. Like, if you have the technical know-how, if you have the merit to solve problems at that scale, instantly you are creating an impact on thousands of people directly and more than a million, I mean millions of people because of those because of how widespread those tools themselves are, right? Uh, so it's its own form of satisfaction, knowing that something you solved, knowing that something you built is being used by so many people out there. Um, and yeah, as I mentioned, learning is one of the big things with open source is that if you get into a conventional job, your learning prospects, your learning opportunities will be fairly driven by what the org or what the company needs from you, right? You will be focused on those areas, you'll be focused on those technical problems. You will really not have enough flexibility to just go out and do things. But with open source, while you are building your things or while you are contributing to projects, you will get to know different kind of problems, right? Literally, the entire world software catalog is up for you. You can go and read the code for whatever and try to solve something there, or try to build something of your own inspired by it. So the amount of learning that you get from there is it's limitless. I personally have learned all I know about software development from open source software. Just reading code, reading PRs, looking at people's feedback, looking at how problems are being solved. It's literally a gold mine. Uh, how would you start today? Okay. Some very basic things. After this, I'll also talk about what not to do, what you should avoid doing with open source. Um, so the first thing I would say is think about yourself. Think about what are the problems you are facing as a student or as a developer or as a data engineer or whatever role that you want to work in or whatever work you want to do. Think about what creates friction in that piece of work, right? Uh, Try to solve that friction. That would be one thing I would say. It does not always have to be something. It can be. If it is, then great. You can go out and try to solve it. Go with these phases again, the things that we are talking about. Right? Go through these steps. Try to build following these steps. Uh, or it could be, let's say, you are already using something. It could be a library, it could be a framework, it could be whatever. But while using it, while working with it, you notice that hey, this particular thing is missing, or this particular thing is not working as expected. Just go in and raise a PR, raise an issue, try to fix it, right? If neither of these are coming to, let's say, hey, I'm not getting ideas, I don't know where to start at all, you will find like thousands of articles and hundreds of GitHub repositories out there where people share how you can get started. A very common practice is looking at good first issues. If you just Google for good first issues, you will see that a bunch of repositories they have that particular label on their issue. And what that means is that they basically want people to start with those issues, solve them, and then maybe move to bigger things. So if you're not getting ideas or if you feel like, okay, I'm happy with the way things are, I just want to help others solve their problems, just search for good first issues and you can get started. Right? So that's your entry point. Either something new, either solving something in other people's code. I just look at a good first issue and get started from there. Another thing I would recommend is whatever you are doing, you write about it. It can be in the form of a blog, it can be in the form of a LinkedIn post, it can be in the form of a bunch of tweets, whatever is your medium, right? Whatever you prefer, talk about it in public, share your information, share your learnings in public. Uh, because you are still students and learning and being able to grow is the biggest expectation that people will have from you, right? So doing these things, sharing these things out in public, basically it signals to people that hey, I am doing, I am learning things, I am solving real problems, and I have technical depth, and I know how to work with people and review things. It is very, very crucial. There's this whole movement of build in public, right? This is a big part of building in public. Make sure that whatever you do, you don't have to be restricted that hey, I need to go in and solve this major bug or I need to go in and build this major feature. It can be sometimes very simple things in the docs. It can be optimizing and improving the tests or improving the, I don't know, the CI pipeline or helping them save money with infrastructure, right? Whatever idea you have, whatever technical depth you have, open source has opportunities for you to go in and contribute. Um, and the final thing on open source, on contribution, is that you don't really have to wait for permission, right? There's no if you make a good quality, high quality PR to a repo, right? Almost never the maintainer would come in and say that, hey, you're not allowed to merge this, or I don't want this, or whatever, right? They'll actually thank you for your work, happily give you feedback, and then even merge it in, right? So the key here is not waiting, uh, not waiting for something big. The key is to start small, but with value delivery, right? What you don't want to be doing is these things. Um, you will get feedback whenever you're working with open source. You will, let's say, get either PR feedback, or maybe you have made a couple of repos of your own. Someone might just write you a mail complaining about things, or when you are sharing your knowledge in public, someone might leave some comments that you may not agree with, right? Uh, do not take those things personally. That's a very, very common uh, pitfall, right? Whenever people early in their career they get feedback, they end up taking it personally. The feedback is about the project, or about the code, or about the PM. The feedback is for the work. The feedback is not for you as the person. That's a detachment that is very necessary for you to create. In general, I would say, not even in open source, but whenever you get into work, I would say keep this thing in mind. Uh, Other would be, do not chase stars, or any other virtual magic thing, right? A lot of projects, a lot of people are obsessed with GitHub stars, or I don't know, like how many retweets your post is getting, or how many likes something is getting. Uh, that does not really matter in the long term. If you are consistently adding value, it it all just scales very, very organically, right? So focus on adding value, focus on learning. Do not focus on these superficial. It is okay to, just maybe you build something new, you want people to see, okay, I'll go out and maybe I'll post this on Reddit, or maybe I'll share this on this Discord server where other people are working on something similar. Good. If you get stars, if you get likes and all of that, great. Even if you don't get, don't let that be the reason why you stop, right? You just continue to build, you continue to learn, you continue to improve. This is a major one, to not focus on quantity, but to optimize for quality. Recently, I'm not sure if you have heard, but open source contributions from India have had a very bad reputation, because what happens is whenever October rolls in, GitHub, DigitalOcean, they do this uh, October Fest thing, right? Where you get a bunch of PRs merged, and you get some swag and some stickers and stuff, right? What ended up happening is students and different people who want to learn more about open source and contribute to open source, they started making like very low quality, almost useless PRs in random repos, sometimes in major repos like Express and more. What that led to was stricter rules and a overall poor PR for Indian devs, which is something that we definitely don't want. What I would instead suggest is It's okay that you open one PR every 3 months, but if that PR is really high quality, and if it does end up getting merged, it's way better than, let's say, 10 PRs opened in those 3 months of lackluster quality and half of them getting closed. It also applies to your own personal projects. Don't go out and build whatever you can see under the sun, like you see a tutorial for, I don't know, building a game with Go, or you see a tutorial for building a CLI tool with Rust. Don't go out and just build it and uh, just just push it up, right? I have done that earlier in my career. I have stopped doing it. It is good if you just are doing it for learning, but don't think of it as really an open source contribution. It's just a project that you built and pushed up, right? Nothing about that is open source. It's coming from someone's idea. You're just uh, copying it and maybe tweaking some things. Instead, again, here also focus on the quality. Like actually think what value addition will this project do to my life or to my friends' lives or to my college or whatever my or software development as a whole. Whatever. Focus on that. Focus on the value addition. Focus on the quality aspect, and only then take things to the next step. Um, this one is something related to the stars, one, but do not compare things. You might see a lot of buzz around open source, like, hey, this person cracked GSOC and made, I don't know, 10 CR, and this person got placed in Meta, and this person did that. Do not compare where you are starting and what that other person has achieved. That will just lead you to a negative mindset. Instead, what you do is you build a goal for yourself, right? You can build a goal that, hey, I want to get to GSOC, for example, or maybe I want to build a project that has real impact, and I want to showcase it on my portfolio or something. Do that and just compare your yesterday and your today, right? Or maybe your last month and your this month. See if there's a delta between those. See if there's a improvement between where you were and where you are. That is something that I would really suggest instead of just comparing yourself directly uh, with someone who might have started early or someone who might have just been at the right place at the right time, right? So avoid doing that. Uh, this one, again, avoiding waiting for perfection or avoiding just getting things just right before you actually publish or before you share. Uh, most of the times, working piece of software is better than perfect software. So focus on that. Focus on building something working. Focus on building something that adds value. And then finally, uh, unless you have a grant for open source or unless you have been employed to work with open source, then it's okay. It is a regular employment. But if you are doing open source for learning, for creativity, for passion, for fun, whatever, it should be that. It should not be something draining. It should not be something that you do in spite of, it's being a burden and you're still continuing to do it. No reason for that. If you are feeling that, that means you're burning out, you stop. Um, yeah, that was all I wanted to cover. If you have, if you want to check out the deck, you can open the second link, github.com/ukabhishek/talks. You'll find it linked to the index. The first one has links to most of my socials. So even after this, if you want to drop me a mail or have any question, feel free to talk to me on LinkedIn. Um, yeah, and with this, I will open up for questions if there are any. We have around 10 minutes.
Yeah, Abhishek, someone just asked, can you put in the links in the chat that you were sharing? So yeah, if you could do that, that would be
Yep,
helpful.
yep,
Apart from that,
definitely.
I did had one question.
Yep.
Uh, like I had two questions. One of them you have asked, but still I'll ask the question again. Like, what are some of the bad practices related to open source? Like, when I started this journey in the open source, I was pretty much aimed for GSOC, and which is something I would tell my juniors to avoid. That don't go after GSOC or MLH and these things. Just start open source as a experience or as a learning journey. But when I started, I was very much aimed for GSOC, and I treated open source as an internship type of thing. And what I used to do, I used to make bad contributions. Like I used to make like add in comments, like fix typos or add comments or add commas or something like that, and call that as a contribution. But those are some of the bad practices. So are there any other bad practices? Mostly like Indians have a bad reputation in the open source market. So like, are there any other bad practices that you would like to tell us that we should avoid?
Yeah. One thing I would say it could be just like how we are taught and how we are raised in India. Everything for us has to be transactional, right? So we feel like that, hey, I will only do this if I get something in return. Hence the, like people expect that, hey, if I'm doing open source work, I would still want money to be there, or I would only do open source if there is an end goal, like let's say GSOC or something, right? Some realized monetary aspect or some aspect has to be there for me to contribute. That is a problem. Open source at its core, right? If you even look at FSF, the GNU project, Linux, a bunch of other things. All of these started with no ulterior motives, no transactional gain expected, right? They were all just started by people thinking that, hey, I want this, it does not exist. They put it out, and eventually it led to huge gains for them, but that was never their goal, right? So that is a very common thing and something that I would emphasize, that you do not focus on getting anything out of open source apart from the sheer learning and the fun. If you enjoy working with programming, if you enjoy working with code, right? Focus on that. Apart from that, I would also say uh, that in open source, people hesitate to ask for help, right? People would, see something, see some issue that they are facing, but most of the times we don't even go in and raise an issue on that project, right? Most of the times we just say, okay, maybe it is broken and just leave it as is. Maybe someone else will come in and solve it. The bare minimum what you could do is maybe just open up an issue. Even if the person on the other side does not respond, you can just clearly state that this is what I was seeing, this is what I was expecting, and can you help me solve this, or can you guide me on how to solve this? Okay. Uh, and then one final thing I would say is uh, the entitlement that people feel when they are either contributing to open source or using any open source software. It goes both ways. So when people are contributing to open source software, they somehow feel entitled that, hey, since I have contributed to this project, unless you are the maintainer or unless you are the co-author, it it is not really in your hands in which direction the project will go. Right? You might have seen there have been fallouts between teams where the core author or maintainer went a different way, others had to take a different way, which is expected, which is healthy, which is how things should be, right? Instead, if you get fixated that, hey, since I contributed this bit of things, I should now have a major say, or I should get these privileges or whatever. There's no should in open source. It's you do the work. The only thing you get is goodwill. Um, on the flip side, when people are consuming open source software, the form of entitlement they feel that way. This is free software. I'll do whatever I want with it. If something does not work, I'll go into the issues and I'll just say share with the author that hey, they need to fix this or their software is broken or whatever, right? So this entitlement that hey, I am using this free of cost, but I still feel entitled for you to support my workflow and my project and this and that. So that those two forms of entitlement needs to not be there. There has to be no ego while working with open source.
And I think you have explained that quite well. And uh, yeah, actually, the thing that you said that we feel like we the Indian students feel that if we are doing something, we want that in written, and this is something that many of my juniors have asked that we want to put something in our resume. Like if we will get this XYZ certificate, we can put that in our resume. But if we are contributing in open source, so we can't put anything in our resume apart from our GitHub. But I think you did cover up that topic. You did said that you can get quite good projects out of working in open source. You can get experience and good learning. But still, the question persists with many of the first or second year students that we can't put anything in our resume. So why should we start contributing in open source? So I don't think there is any particular correct answer to that. It's only experience that can help them answer this. But still, if a junior asks you, like, we can't put anything in our resume by contributing in open source. So, like, how would you explain that if you had to try it with?
Yeah. So this is all my personal opinion again, but I personally give zero value to certifications. Whenever I see someone sharing on LinkedIn that hey, I did this so and so course and I got this so and so certificate, I just don't care, right? Because it is just a piece of paper or a piece of digital image that says that you were on your screen, you typed a bunch of keys that you were asked to type, and then they gave you this. It doing a certification gives no real value, but and even I do a lot of hiring for my own teams, for my own company, right? Let's say if I got two resumes, right? One resume where the student just has, let's say, one good GitHub project that they had put their heart and soul into and built it, right? And on the flip side, another person who has done, let's say, 10 different certifications. I would not even hesitate picking the person who has actually done real work and has actually built software other than the person who's just been doing certifications. So to summarize, with open source, you actually do things, you actually know how to do things, right? And you build things, right? What and if you are worried about your resume, your skills will show whenever you talk to people. But if you still want to create that initial impression, uh, do what I did, right? Just have useful, interesting things on your GitHub, right? Or build things in public. Just have them displayed. People won't even have to get to your resume to know that this person is still. They'll maybe just open your LinkedIn or they maybe just open your GitHub, they'll know that okay, this person knows stuff.
So yeah, I think you explained us quite well, and your guidance was quite valuable. And again, I would like to apologize to you and everyone else that we misscheduled this session on Choti Diwali Eid. So hence the crowd was quite less, and we are really sorry for that. We can have a future session a few months apart from this day. So yeah, we would love to have you again with us. And yeah, thanks a lot for your time and happy Choti Diwali to everyone. And yeah,
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend and a happy Diwali. Bye.
Happy Diwali. Bye bye.
bye. So yeah, I'll just end the session.